Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Orange Butterfly Effect. Today, I am so happy and grateful to be with my friend, Jerry Moyer. Jerry, welcome back to the Orange Butterfly Effect.
Michelle, it's a pleasure to be here. Seems like yesterday when we did the first show. I don't know when that was, maybe 2 years ago.
It was
But
February of 2024. I went back in
uh
the archives. So it was some time ago. And then I introduced you, of course, but I'm going to reintroduce you to this new and I'm sure you have some audience members that heard your first episode, but I'm sure you'll have some new listeners today as well.
no, I look forward to it. I'm ready to go.
Okay, I cannot wait for this introduction. So, Jerry Moyer, you are a pro soccer player, college soccer coach, peak performance coach. You have worked with high performing athletes. You are now a times author, my friend. Time to Fly, 32-0 Lessons from an Undefeated Season. And I have Ed and 8 here with me today, which we will talk about. You're a father, a grandfather, and the last time I described you, I added you have a zest for life. Anything that I missed this time, my friend?
I think you hit it pretty well there, Michelle. I mean, it's that pretty much summarizes it. The one thing I just tell everybody, I love life. I'm a person who wakes up every single day. I'm a lover of this thing we call life, and I literally wake up every day and just enjoy the adventure.
I wish you could see my next line because then quoted underneath that introduction, I have a direct quote from you from our last
Ah.
episode. And you said, I'm a 60-year-old guy that loves life.
I'm
So that's where you left.
62,
So things
62, and still
changed.
loving it.
So my first question for you is why, Jerry? Why do you wake up every day loving your life? What is the formula for you?
Yeah, it's something I've learned. I can't say for my entire 62 years that's how it's been, but for quite some time that's how it's been. And to me, it's a choice. I've made a decision, and I made a firm decision that I was going to love this thing we call life. There were periods in my time when maybe I didn't love every part of it, but it's just fantastic. Every single day that I wake up, I feel blessed and excited for what the day may bring me. So it's a conscious choice of mine. I choose to love life.
And there's a quote. I'm not going to give away too much of the book because I really want people to read the series. I think that it builds to this, right? But you have a quote. This is your quote. I don't fly so others know who I am. I fly so I know who I am.
Yeah, this whole thing for me is a journey of exploration, and I love the parts of meeting other people. That to me is, I know you talk about connections and how important they are, and I feel the same way. But the dance, if you will, that I've been having is the dance with myself. I've learned so much about myself even since our last podcast. I feel I've grown immensely, and that to me is a never-ending process.
Yeah, so tell me, since February of 2024, what has changed in your world?
Yeah, I think the quick answer would be me. Yeah, a new version of me. I'm still doing a lot of those same things. Still in real estate. I've scaled back a bit to free up more time for the work that I absolutely love and am passionate about, which is the working with athletes and teams and
Yeah.
organizations. Yeah, I feel like I'm a more evolved version of the person that you spoke to 2 years ago.
And I can't
If
even
that makes
imagine
sense.
it almost it does make sense because I know you, but it doesn't because you to me have always been at such a place of self-actualizing. And I know that's a journey, but I just can't imagine how much more you could find out about yourself when you are already one of, if not the most self aware person I have ever met. And there's something else that you said. You quoted that you have been on a personal improvement journey for decades.
Yeah,
Will you always be? What are
I
you seeking? What are you looking for?
yeah, I wanna be the best version of myself that I can possibly be. And like every other human being, at least this is my belief, I know I have some strengths, I have some flaws, I have some areas that I know I can still improve upon. Um, One specific area, that I've been really kind of exploring and growing in is, my own faith.
Mhm.
And, from a religious context and just a general level, I've always had it, but, I've kinda dug into some different areas, and again, I like to as I probably said the last time, I'm an avid reader, so I love reading books and learning, listening to podcasts like yours and several others, which is still part of my daily routine that I probably talked about the last
Yep.
time. But it's there's so much information that's now available that to me it's almost criminal not to tap into it and not to learn, not to grow. So yeah, I'm on a journey that every single day, if I'm not growing, I feel I'm sorta not doing everything I can do. Like, I'm on a I wanna be the best version of myself that I can be.
I feel that very deeply, and that was part of your routine the last time that
Okay.
we chatted, and I know in the book, and just because we know each other personally, you've mentioned the fact that sometimes God whispers or the universe whispers, or
Mhm.
there's just this voice and you know that it means you need to go. You need to act on something, and that is how you made your way back to me in this space because I was in this state of flux, and I my life is slower now than the last time we connected in this way,
Okay.
and I want some feedback on that because I have been really working on going from peak performance, but not the peak performance you're talking about because I think you've optimized the form of peak performance that you coach. But I went from being at this peak performance that was leading to burnout to optimizing my performance. And I really wanted to chat with you about that. I'm going to pause for a second because I want that to come later in our discussion. But
Okay.
as I was exploring over the last 6 or 7 months, you just kept coming to my mind, and I read Time to Fly 3 times during that period, your book. And it was so instrumental in just kind of getting me to this really grounded place. So I want to thank you for not I know we're not physically in the same place anymore. I've moved. I'm about an hour and 40 minutes from you, but you have been with me, Jerry, and I just really want to thank you for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for sharing that. That just makes my whole body feel warm. Um, as you well know, because you do the same thing in slightly different way. Um, Impacting another person's life, however that may be, might arguably be the most powerful thing that we can all do. And you certainly have had an impact on mine.
Oh,
So to
thank you.
think that in some small way I may be helping yours is an amazing thing that makes me feel warm.
You absolutely were helping, are helping, and with the Ed and 8 book, I know I sent you this text last evening, but wow. I know that I read through this book once, but I can't wait for this to be by my side too, through the
Yeah.
next phase of whatever that may be. But I want to pause because we do have some new listeners that have
Okay.
joined us, and the podcast has really evolved to be a space for people of all ages. You know, it really started with young professionals, but
Mhm.
all ages just trying to figure out this thing called life. And I know you're still figuring it out, but to me, you have figured out a lot of it. So, can you just give us an overview of your story? I'm going to link your previous episode, but who is Jerry Moyer? Give us the spark notes that I haven't covered.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, as I said, a lover of life, but I'm a person who started as a young athlete. I've my grew up in a household of my parents were both high level athletes that excelled in a multitude of sports. I played everything from tennis to basketball, ran cross country. The sport that most people know me for is where I had most of my success, which was in soccer.
Yep.
Was a high school All-American, college starter at Penn State, regional All-American, played pro for a couple years, got into college coaching. But at the core, and again, this has been part of my self-analysis, at the core, I've always been a coach. I've always been a helper. I love helping people. So I'm a person who wakes up every day, God willing, with like everyone else. But I have some really big things that I want to do, and they all involve helping other people. So hopefully that sort of answered your question.
It definitely did, and you're very humble, there's so much more meat to that, but I'll take your response for now. And I wanna focus on your time as a pro soccer player because, of course, you're coaching now, but you coach because you know how to do, which I think is critically important.
Mhm.
So, the athletic mindset, how did you adopt an athletic mindset, and what is it like to work with others that have a similar mindset to you?
Yeah, athletic mindset is an interesting topic. There's a lot of different definitions, and people can kind of put their own spin on it. To me, it's the mindset actually gets evolved or developed by the things that athletes do. So we train every day. We have to become people who are used to consistent effort. We have to be people as a high level athlete. You have to be somebody that embraces consistency. You have to be someone that can take adversity and find some nugget in it, and how can I spin this and move forward. So the athletic mindset to me is really developed by the thing athletes do. And again, I don't want to kind of take this where you might go a little bit later, but it's they're the same skill sets that I use in my non-athletic career. So yes, they apply to coaching. That's directly linked, but I'm in a salesperson. I've been a realtor for 26 years. I coach other realtors and do training with pharmaceutical reps and things like that. The same things we talk about with my athletes, and this athletic mindset is the very same things we talk about in the business world.
Yeah, and we can absolutely jump there because that is why I am so obsessed with this topic. So I'm a college professor now. Last time we met, of course, I was working for a university, but now I'm in the classroom full time, which is such a blessing. And
Congratulations, that's
thank
awesome.
you. It is so wonderful. But I am surrounded by college athletes. The majority of our students in the College of Business are college athletes,
Mhm.
and they show up differently in the best way. And I oftentimes feel like those transferable skills aren't talked about enough. And when I'm engaging a whole classroom of athletes and non athletes, my mentality is that we're all training for life every single day. I'm not an athlete, but
Love
I
that.
wake up every day and I am
Michelle,
training for this life.
sorry to interrupt you. I know it's your show, but if I seem to remember the last podcast, which was a couple of years ago, you had just run a big race and had embraced this athletic mindset yourself as a runner.
Yeah. So I thank you. I appreciate you reminding me. I would say I am a non traditional, non collegiate athlete, but I do run. I do love to physically challenge myself.
Okay.
And that's part of it. Yes. And I still am running. And
I love it.
but I bring that mentality in to the classroom again to say that we are all training for life. And I just think it's so important that we have more conversations like this because athletes and non-athletes have transferable skills if they have an athletic mindset that they can bring into any facet of life or business. So how do we communicate? Should we communicate that more often, or what advice do you give when you are coaching about bringing that athletic mindset to everyday life?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we choose the term athletic mindset, and I could make a really good argument. I mean, I'm biased because I'm a former pretty high level athlete and coach, but I could put the argument that, someone put that label to it.
Yeah.
I could really look at some super successful business people I know and autobiographies of successful business people and say maybe we should be studying the business person's mindset. Again, because it's really the same thing. So to me, again, it's the skill sets that are involved. Again, I'm an avid reader, so when I read autobiographies of Bill Gates or, a non quote unquote athlete, and you look at the things that they did. They do the
Mhm.
same thing athletes do. They wake up every day, they're hungry, they have a goal, they're persistent, they wake up before the other people wake up. At Penn State, we were in the weight room at 6 o'clock in the morning when I was
Yep.
there while everyone else was still sleeping. Well, Bill Gates was in his weight room, doing what he does. So yeah, I think it is a topic that needs to be talked about more. I think it's a topic that everyone needs to kind of just be okay with wherever they are on their journey, and to realize that you start now. Like you said earlier, it's we can start today and
We
move
can.
in the direction we want to.
And we can train. I think that's the beauty of it. We can practice for our physical, athletic wants, and we can also practice for everyday life. And that's where I really want your advice because I know that you are a peak performance coach. And I just mentioned when we started the episode that I'm working in this optimal space because I was overperforming in all aspects of my life about a year ago. I was overtraining physically, I was overdoing, and it would work out really well for me. And then I'd get to this peak, what I deem to be my peak, and then it'd be burnout. It's like I can't do one more thing. And then it all would come crumbling down. I would need to reset and then kind of build myself back up. So I
Michelle,
decided,
can I interrupt for I
oh, yes,
hate to do
please.
this, but I have to.
Yes, get in here.
You talked earlier about the divine intervention and bringing us together.
Yeah.
This is really interesting because we have not talked about this. So peak performance, I'm sure, is the title that I gave in my last interview. It
Hmm.
still is something that I still use, but I've actually shifted recently to calling myself an optimal performance coach. And
I
and and
chills.
and Michelle, I listened to a podcast. This is a few months ago, but I was listening to a podcast. Don't recall exactly who it was. I listen to a podcast every morning while I work out.
Me too.
And the person was, it might have been Ed Milet because he's the person that I listen to pretty much every day. But Ed Milet or whoever was on the podcast was saying that they didn't like the word peak performance or that term peak because it actually gave a visual as there's an endpoint. And in this person's discussion, and I fully, it's how I believe as I'm listening. He goes, there is no end point. He goes, we're just trying to become the best versions of ourselves. And he used the word optimal, and I said that makes a lot more sense. So thank you.
It is divine. It really is divine intervention. I have full body chills. I was really thinking you were going to push back to this optimal peak performance because
Yeah,
I know to me and that's why you are so unique to me, Jerry, because I feel like you can perform at a peak and maybe now it's optimal sustainably. And that's all I want in my life is that
yeah.
sustainable performance. I love to wake up. I wake up very early, do my workout every day. I move my body. I do all the things that I need to do to make sure that I'm my best self to then serve others, right? But there's also you could do that too much. And that's the phase that I was in. But I think I found a formula that really works for me and that I've been trying to share with other people where it's
I love it.
optimized. So you listened to this podcast, you changed your perception or just
Hmm.
changed the wording. But has anything changed in the way that that you were training for peak performance versus
Yeah,
optimal performance?
yeah. And it's again, it's a word, but it's a mind frame and it's a mentality shift. And so the shift came for me personally. And I'm not preaching this to anyone else. Everyone has to interpret this however they want. There's nothing wrong with the word peak performance.
Yeah.
Let me be clear on that. With that being said, what the person speaking said on that podcast, and it sang to my heart. It was to wake up each day and do the best you can do that day under the circumstances you have. So as an athlete, here's one of the examples they talked about. If you did a major upper body workout, or as a soccer player, we'll do a leg workout. If I did a full, I'm doing squats, I'm doing extensions, I'm doing leg press. My legs, you wake up the next day and your legs are spent. They're lactic acid has built up. There's all kinds of, you're sore, this and that. And this is the key. So you're not going to be at the peak performance, but you can still give your optimal effort. And under those circumstances, whatever it is that's going on in your life, in the example I'm giving, my legs are sore, you can still show up, you can still put in some work and make growth and make improvement. And that's an optimal day. That's a grand slam, a home run, whatever you want to call it. So it's actually shifted not just how I view it. But yeah, when we talk with the athletes, I mean, I've changed as a coach. So I can now look at from a different perspective some of the athletes I'm working with. Hey, we had a game yesterday, and I got whacked 30 times, and during the game, and my legs are killing me. And that's okay. Maybe today's a day that we need to really work on your mind. Maybe
Oh,
today's a day you can do an upper body workout.
yeah. And my fear with the thinking of the peak visually, my fear was always that if I softened, I would start to slide.
Hmm.
If it was
Hmm.
one of those days where I was very sore from a
Hmm.
workout or mentally exhausted from writing or researching or whatever it may have been, if I didn't continue, then I thought, you know what, I'm declining. that means that I'm
Yeah,
going down. But that is not the case, and there does not need to be this all or nothing mentality. Do you feel like
yeah.
your athletes do you ever have to counteract that all or nothing mentality?
It's out there. It's prevalent. It's something that, and again, I'm not here to change the world and the way things are thinking everyone's thoughts.
Yeah.
But it's how I thought before I heard this podcast. And I have to share, I like to share real world, the stuff that's going on today.
Please. Mhm.
As you know, I traveled, I was in Lexington, Kentucky for the weekend watching my daughter play pro soccer, and we had a long 8.5 hour drive back late yesterday. I have a routine. So my morning routine is probably the same as when we talked 2 years ago. Well, anyway, I work out every morning. When I woke up today, I was exhausted. I was exhausted. I didn't get much sleep. We got home late. The dogs had to go out several times. And this is the difference. And again, so I got up, I got moving, I got
Mhm.
my clothes on, and I went down and I still did my workout. Now, if I'm being brutally honest, which I always try to be, today's workout was not the best one I've ever done. So if I'm going from a peak performance mentality, I could interpret today as a failure. And in reality, it was a home run because a version of me, not anymore, but an old version of me may have just stayed in bed today. Oh, I don't feel like it. But I got up, I put in a little work, and here's the part that we both know. I did my bike workout. It was a much lighter version than some of the other ones, and I did work out in Lexington as well. Um, but I feel better now because I did it.
Yeah.
And so even though it wasn't my 100%, if you will, I don't know what that number was. It doesn't even matter. But say it was 50% of what I normally might do on a Tuesday. I now feel great. It's worth. Can I say what time we're filming this?
Oh, yeah, of course you
Yeah,
can.
we're
Mhm.
we're filming this 3:30, 3:45 in the afternoon, and I feel great. I'm so thankful that I have this habit, this athletic mindset to get up and work. Because even though the actual performance of what I did today wouldn't, be super exciting to anyone. It was a whole lot better than had I stayed in bed and done nothing.
And did you enjoy your workout? Did you leave
I
it
did, I
feeling
did, I did. Oh yeah, a minute into it, and it was I'm gonna give a little plug. It was a Peloton workout, and
Peloton?
the the
Yeah.
lady that I ride to often, she's real big on patting yourself on the back for showing up. Another day that you're sitting on this bike, it's a good day.
Yep, I love Peloton as well. That is where I find myself every morning. I have a tread and the bike, but, most
Nice.
often I'm on the tread, and that is one
Nice.
thing that they always say is the hardest part is showing up and you're
Yeah,
here. But I
yeah,
have such a similar story because when I was at peak performance, I thought that I had to run a 5K every day. That was my peak
yeah,
performance.
yeah,
I needed to do it no matter what. And there were some days where I did not enjoy it. And that's when I
yeah,
started to reevaluate. And I didn't enjoy it because one, I was just pushing my body to an extreme that it didn't need to be pushed to. So it was
mhm,
physically exhausting, but also I just felt myself checking out. It did not give me the same runner's high that I had before. And now 10,000 steps a day, that could be I run 2 miles and then do a walk, whatever it may be. But I just stay right there. And I can
yeah,
achieve that mostly every single day or get
yeah.
really close. And that's like the best exhale feeling.
I love it. I love it. And another story that's factual as of yesterday. One of the athletes I'm working again. I try not to identify them, but an aspiring female professional player um, has been working like crazy and is right on the edge of her first contract. And we literally talk about taking Sunday off and doing nothing and allowing your body to recover, that this is part of the process, that it's not all grind and grind and grind and grind. And I think there's a little bit of a trap there that I fell into where, like you were describing, you have to do that 5K every day. I felt if I wasn't working 20 hours a day that and what I found out myself is I had a little bit of that burnout and a little
Yeah.
bit of, and whatever. So, again, it's ebbs and flows, and we talked about that before. It's finding something that works for you and is optimal for you, so
I
that
just
you can be
can't
the
believe
best
that you
version.
the fact that you changed your mindset and language around performance is so awesome to me. When did this happen? When did you make the shift? Was it
Few
recent?
few few months ago. Yeah, a few months
Okay.
ago, I listened to the podcast, and it's still evolving. I mean, again, like I said, I'm sure I still say peak a lot, but I catch myself, and I become pretty aware and catch myself. And then again, what I've always stressed, from the day we met, is to bring and just be the best version of yourself. And on some days that means waking up and giving a 50% effort on your Peloton. Then that's the best you can do that day. On some days it might be doing nothing and taking the whole day off. So, yeah,
That's a very comforting thought. It's comforting to me to know that you and I are in the same place too again, because I really admire the way that you perform in life and your ability to have so much stamina. And that's what I think this does. I think it gives people the opportunity to have more stamina to sustain a lifestyle rather than this one jolt in time.
yeah. And like I said, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but the visual, again, if we can picture a mountaintop and climb that mountain when it's peak, there's an ending point, and that's not what I'm all about. I'm about continuing until my last breath on this planet. I plan on being growing and evolving, and so optimal to me is when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, she's speaking my language, and actually, as it turns out, I'm speaking yours.
Yes, we are very much in alignment, and I'm still practicing this lifestyle because I do
Yeah,
have the urge, I have to admit. I have the urge to be peaking often. So
yeah.
it's new to me, and that's why when I was saying hello to you again, I was saying that my life is slower than it
Yeah.
was when we met the first time because I feel like I was definitely just really seeking that upward momentum. I am still going upward, but it feels different. Do you feel that? Do you feel any slower now that you've adopted this mindset?
Well,
Or slow maybe
it's
isn't the right word, but that's just how I
it's
feel.
I feel and I can relate, I think, exactly to what you're saying. Um, but I've become more efficient.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm doing things now, and this is a slight shift, but I'm doing things now in less time. So something that I may have blocked out 4 hours to do, I've just become it during my growth and evolution. I now can do that in an hour of
Yeah.
focused energy. And again, it ties all back to this initial topic of things I had to do as an athlete. It's like you don't have 20 hours to do. You got to do it it's a 90-minute game or a 45-minute half or
Yep.
whatever the situation might be. So I've become really, and I'm still not there. I'm growing every day, but I've become a lot more efficient at getting things done. And so, in a sense, while I'm actually in that moment, it feels very similar to how it's always felt, but my life has slowed down, because I've become more efficient.
And I think that's what happens when you're at
Yeah,
optimal performance because
yeah,
you are being the 2 E's, more effective and efficient,
yeah.
which then results in a little extra time. And I think that's what I'm working on filling, or maybe it doesn't need to be filled, and that's the solution. But now that I have a little extra time, I'm like, "Hmm, what else can I do with this?"
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have extra time that you need to fill, or or
Well,
how did you navigate that gap?
yeah, I don't know if what I'm about to say is what you wanna hear, but I let it come out as it comes to me. I have freed up that time, and the challenge for me is to not just do more of it because I love helping people. And so, again, I'd have to re-listen to the previous podcast, but I think we talked a little bit about this on there. Is um, I was already pretty good at being fairly selective at the people that I choose to work with, the athletes.
Yeah.
Um, with the freed up time, I'm doing more of it. And my wife reminds me of this, because, again, for me, it's a bunch of things. I have a lot of, life is pretty darn good for me right now. I have some fantastic paid clients, et cetera. But just love helping people. And so when I see somebody who wants it so desperately and let's put it this way, I'm doing a lot of free stuff right now for a whole lot of people that, again, it brings me joy, it brings me pleasure. So I have filled that open time with some more of the same, but I do feel I do feel in general though that I have a good balance. I don't know if that's the right word, but, yeah, I feel good. I feel great about
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
And you filled the time with something that fills you up, and I think
Yeah,
that's what's most important, and you did
yeah,
mention that in the last episode that when you see that burn in someone's eyes that
and
you can't help yourself but
yeah,
say, "I'm here," and I wanna
Yeah.
support you and watch you grow and succeed and cheer for you along the way. So you definitely had the very same statement
Oh,
February of
interesting.
2024, yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, we all grow, we evolve, but on very short notice, a local college here that might start with Penn State uh, called me up and on really short notice, can I come over to talk to their team? This that, and no, my schedule said no. My lifestyle probably should have said no in a sense, but the answer was an
Your
immediate
heart said
yes.
yeah.
And yeah, and it's I love the way you said it, Michelle. I have to remind myself of that. It literally fills me up. And
Yeah.
so when I went, I spoke with the team. The presentation was amazing, well received by everyone. And when I came home, my wife, who's fantastic, and I'm joking a little bit because she fully supports me, fully
Mhm.
expressing myself. But she's like, how was it? And she already knows the answer because I'm beaming and she can feel the energy before I even enter the house. It's when I'm fully alive. So,
Oh, and I love that you're able to share that now through your writing, because that's what I get from
oh,
you every time, especially because we haven't chatted in some time. I know we go back and forth on LinkedIn and social
yeah,
media,
yeah.
but we haven't been in this environment in some time. And when I was reading Ed and Eight and Time to Fly over again,
Mhm.
I felt I felt your energy coming through and I missed that. So I'm just so grateful that I get to have that and that others who you might not be coaching directly still get that from you. So I want you to tell me now, we're going to transition to the book because I want to
Okay.
be conscious of your time and I really want to talk about this. Time to fly to now. How did we get here? What story are you telling and why do you feel so compelled to keep telling it?
Yeah, I think, again, I shared this, I'm sure, with Time to Fly. The idea actually came to me in a dream. I call it, as you already talked about, I reference that, and I truly believe it was God whispering to me and saying, "Hey, you're on this planet for a purpose, and this is part of that purpose." And he whispered this exact idea to me. So I literally woke up with the idea of Time to Fly, did all of that, and then again, it's life, it's real life, and the things that I'm doing in my own life, seeing my family and the things that are going on in my family, and then all the athletes and others that I work with.
Yeah.
Um, I want people to live quote unquote optimal lives. I want them to not be tippy-toeing through this thing we call life and kind of half living, but doing the things they want to do. And so the evolution of the story from Time to Fly to Ed and Eight is just a continuation of that process. I mean, the books are meant to be read in that
Mhm.
sequence, Time to Fly first, followed by Ed and Eight. Um, and it's just an extension. It's not a solve all the world's problems. It's a illustrated adventure of a fly named Eight and the story and growth that Eight is going through. So that's kind of how it got to that. And in between, we had 32 and 0, which was an unrelated
Yep.
book. But yeah, I mean, it's there's more coming. By the way, I mean it's now. Again, I've got a bunch of other projects and things going, but Ed and Eight is I was so passionate about it. So I love the fact that you shared some notes with me before this call that you enjoyed it, and now I know it's helping people because people are telling me it is.
Yeah, this is a really special book, and I mentioned beforehand, I'm not sure if I said this already, but after I finished, I had tears in my eyes, I had chills on my arms, and I was just, again, so happy to have you with me in that moment because I knew that you were speaking through the book, but I also had this feeling that it can be really lonely being fly number 8. And I want to talk about that with you. And if anyone else has said that before during their feedback, or if you feel that, but that, I think that's why I was feeling a little emotional after I read Ed and Eight, because Eight is so confident and shares all this beautiful advice, which if you read the book, which you should, you'll get those lessons. But it can be lonely being the one to share those lessons and being the one to carry that weight. So what do you think about that?
No, I think it's a great observation, and to be honest, I think only one other I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations with people. Only one other person sort of touched on this topic, and to me, it can go a bunch of ways. The way I'll choose to share it is when you're doing. um, or living in a manner that maybe others aren't, which means when you're pursuing something, when you're actively excited about life and going after dreams and things like that. What I found, and this is just my observation, is most people have given up. It's my observation, which I find sad, and it's part of the reason that I do all of this. Is again, everybody's dreams are different, everybody's goals are different, but um, it can be lonely when, you know, I won't speak for you, but you have your challenges, I have my challenges. We have our own lives and things going on, and it's far from picture perfect every single time. The one
Yeah.
part talk about that we were talking earlier about the growth. I've just become much more transparent. I think
Mhm.
I've always been free and willing to share the goods, the bads, the ups, the downs, and because that's part of an athlete's world, from the athletic mindset. But I've just become transparent now. It's not a matter of I don't care anymore or any of that, but um, it can be lonely. I mean, I share in at an 8, and I don't wanna give all the details, but I share in at an 8, and I'm not number 8. People have asked me, "Are you number 8?" Whatever, and there are parts of the characteristics of number 8 that, yes, are based on me and my life. One of the things I do share that I never shared with anybody before is, I mean, talk about the lows. I had a bankruptcy, and I share that incredible low, and yeah, I mean, and the reason for sharing it was I thought it might be able to help somebody.
Yeah.
It's easy to look at an author, and again, I'm not some high-powered author yet, but it's easy to look at people who may have had some success, quote unquote, as the world defines it, and think that everything's perfect. And I just wanted to let people in on a glimpse of my world. Probably one of, if not the biggest low I ever had in my life. Sitting in a room, in a courtroom, waiting for to file bankruptcy. I mean,
Yeah.
like, how did this happen? And again, this is years and years and years ago. Um, but the part for sharing it was another person may not be going through bankruptcy, but whatever it is, whatever the challenge that someone else might be going through, I want to let them know that you can get through it. You can come out on the other side, and not only come out on the other side, it can be better than you could ever have imagined. And interestingly enough, I think it can be appreciated so much more. And
Yeah.
I don't wish bankruptcy upon anybody. I don't wish illness upon any. But I think sometimes by having those incredible lows, um, you can when you do experience the highs, it's like a ridiculously high high. Where because you have the taste of the other end, it's something that so it's yeah. I mean, it can be lonely. It can be. Um, I think there's a lot of lonely people in the world, and part of I part of everything I'm doing now is I don't like that idea. I don't
Yeah.
like the idea of people being lonely. I think we should be helping each other. We should be communicative. We should, as we talked about on podcast one, we should be sitting around the campfire talking with each other. So that's part of what I'm doing.
That is I had that written down because I think that was such a special share from our first episode together, is that when we have these conversations, it opens the door for vulnerability, and when we're more vulnerable with each other, it allows us to express things that make us feel connected and less lonely, and I think that's what your
Yeah.
book does. It opens up the doors to have those conversations, I'm sure, amongst teams, amongst groups of people. So, what has been a win for Jerry since sharing Time to Fly and this book with the world? What have you seen that's just like given you that moment of full
Well,
body chills?
the wins for me, there are a few personal ones that I could share on mine, but the wins, if I'm being brutally honest, the wins are the things I'm seeing with others that I'm working with.
Yeah.
And so, again, without specifics, when an athlete gets a full ride to Stanford, when an athlete
Mhm.
when an athlete signs a professional contract, when an athlete whose dream is to be the captain of the U.S. national team, initially is on a pro team and not playing, to now starting and being the player of the week 2 times, and I mean that's it for me. Again, I have my own things that I'm doing and thoroughly enjoying. Um, but my biggest enjoyment, and again, this is I'm just telling you how I feel. My biggest enjoyments are helping other people. and seeing them succeed. And so, it's a neat revolving kind of process because I think I have a small part in helping them in their journey. And then when they have it, it refuels me and it
Yeah.
just keeps spinning in this upward manner, which is so exciting.
And I know, so we don't need to, I really want people to read the book, so I'm not gonna talk too much about Ed,
Share
but
whatever you want to. You can share whatever you want to.
I want to know more. Am I saying the last name right? Ed Milet?
And Milet.
So
Yes.
Ed Milet was an inspiration behind this book. Can you just tell us a little more about Ed and how you found Ed and how he impacted this story?
Yeah, Ed Milet, I dedicate the book to, as you know, since you've read it. But
Yep.
Ed Milet is a superstar in the optimal performance world. He's an incredibly successful guy, both in the business world and now in the efforts to help others. But a few years ago, while I was working a summer soccer camp, a counselor, it's my brother Mike's camp, Big Kick soccer camps, and a counselor at the camp, we're talking at one of the breaks, and I'm sharing with them as I tend to do this podcast. And he just innocently said, "Have you ever heard of Ed Milet?" And at the time, I had not. Now, for decades, I've been studying with the best of the best and reading and learning, and I never heard of this guy. So the quick version of the story is I went home that night, I Googled him and up popped this guy and he looked super athletic and jacked
Mm.
and he's wearing a headset similar to you right now. And he was clearly giving a speech. And I just dug into him and this is that whisper from God again. I I don't even know how to explain it, but almost identically to the feeling of Time to Fly, there was just a knowing that yeah, this is the guy. Dig into this guy.
Yeah.
It was literally I my own take. I think it was God whispering to me, Jerry, this is the guy who's right for you right now. Dig into him and learn what you can. And so I listened to every podcast he's done. I've read his books multiple times. Anything with Ed Milet I've been doing and I wanted to dedicate the book to him.
And has Ed read this book?
I don't know.
Did you send him a
This is the I
copy?
don't well, yeah, I've sent this is the crazy part of this. Wow, can I yeah, I'll go through this. So anyway, he's a huge celebrity. Again, my intent was simply to thank him, and that is my intent. I've reached out thousands of times. I'm not exaggerating. Thousands of
Ed, you're
times.
getting this
Uh,
episode. We're sending it your way.
and it's kind of funny. He's such a great. I mean, I don't know if you've ever listened.
I haven't. I will now, but
He
I was not
he
aware of Ed until I read your
he
book.
yeah, he's just which is the part that blows my mind, Michelle. I mean, that was me 2 years ago. I'd been studying with this person, that person, and never had heard of him. And
Yes.
again, names that are more common to people, Tony Robbins and
Simon Sinek,
Brendan
Mel
Brendan
Robbins.
Bouchard. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, Ed Milet is every bit them, and dare I say, is a mentor to some of them. But he kind of chooses to fly under the radar a little bit, no pun intended. But he's a former athlete as well, so he was a pretty high level baseball player in college, and maybe that connection was part of it. But um, yeah, he's fancy. So I joke and say I've never met this guy, but I feel like we're best friends. I
You
literally
will.
feel
You'll
like we're
meet him.
best friends. Yeah, oh, I have no doubt. Michelle, you know me.
I know.
I've already pictured so many things, and again, as I have tattooed on my arm the words divine timing. I detach from all that stuff, and I just do what I feel is the right thing to do. I felt it was the right thing to dedicate this book to him. I did try to get his permission beforehand, and got limited response. But yeah, it's fantastic.
I
He's a person who I can't. I mean, my life has changed because of him.
I cannot
So
wait to explore him and dive into. And I know we talked last episode, and I still have always my card that you have inspired. I'm so happy and grateful. That's why I introduced you in that way. And I can see on yours, it might be written differently, but I'm so happy and grateful to be having dinner with Ed Milet tonight. Because that's what
I
you're going
have
to be
to,
at a dinner table. You're going to be sharing
Michelle.
good
I have a
food
lot,
and good drinks.
and dare I say that one of my cards Might have me as a guest on his show, just like I'm a guest on yours today.
I
Um,
wouldn't you will be there, and I will be
no,
celebrating you, my friend.
I
You
have no
will.
doubt. I have no doubt. No, it's awesome. But yeah, Ed Mylett has just become a very special person to me, and this is the part that I think is so important. Um, on a much smaller scale, I'm influencing and having some impact on pretty many lives.
Yeah,
Not hundreds of thousands or millions like he is, but this is the neat part to me is with each one of them, they get exposed to Ed Mylett.
yeah.
You just said that now you know Ed Mylett and you're going to look him up. And,
I
and I
am.
go, part of my mission now is to help spread the word of Ed Mylett and get his name out there. And again, and this is me for him. I mean, I'm eternally grateful for how my life has changed because of him and the information he has shared through his books and podcasts
Yeah.
that I just want others to have the same benefit that I've had.
And so Mel Robbins is one of my favorite thought leaders,
Yeah.
and she always says on her show, "Share this with someone you love." And I feel
Oh,
like
I
that's
love it.
what you're doing,
Yeah.
informally, but also very intentionally with this book, sharing him and sharing yourself with the people you may not even know yet, but I know that you love.
Yeah, and Michelle, I want to take this opportunity to Juanito, who introduced me at that soccer camp. I mean, I look and I go, my life would just be different if during that break we weren't sharing some information, and if he didn't ask me the question, "Have you ever heard of Ed Mylett?"
Yeah.
My life would be different and not as good as it is today. So I'm thankful to him and thankful to all of this stuff that's happening. It's I believe divinely orchestrated.
Thank you so much for sharing the story of Ed because I was so curious as I was reading. I read the story of how you were introduced to the podcast in the book, but
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it
Okay.
was going to come later or if you had met or had that moment yet. So
Yeah.
I know that it is
No.
coming and I
We
can't wait to hear all about it when it does.
I'm looking forward to it and yeah, I'll certainly keep you updated.
Wonderful. I don't want to spoil any more of the book, so I'll just do a visual if you're watching Ed and 8 cleared for takeoff. You can find this on Amazon. Where else can you get this book, Jerry?
JerryMoyer.com is my website. It all links ultimately through Amazon, but JerryMoyer.com. There's a lot of information on there for all three of the books, but yeah, Ed and Eight is highlighted on the website.
Wonderful. And there's a tip sheet that's been the page that I have flagged and have been referencing most often, page 68. And those tips are so timeless. So I can't wait for others to be exposed to those too. Okay, I'm going to shift gears and ask you two of my favorite questions. And then I know that you've been traveling and we are optimally performing. So then I will I will say goodbye to you after that. But I need to know, what advice do you have now for anyone who is just trying to figure it all out? Main piece of advice, theme, what would you want a listener to know right now?
Yeah, I mean, what popped in my head when you were asking the question is pretty simple. It's starting with giving yourself grace for being wherever you are.
I love that.
That you're at the exact right place that you're supposed to be. And again, this can go sideways with some people because they might be in some places that they don't want to be, but you're where you need to be to hear this today, possibly, and then right tied with that. And this is probably in my tip in my tip sheet. Um, Go fly.
Mhm.
Go. What is it you want to do? Go. Take the first step. For me years ago, that when I wanted to write the book and you write the first letter. I mean, that's how you start. And so
Yeah.
to know that what we talked about a minute ago, the lowest low of my life, sitting in that courtroom facing bankruptcy, whatever your current low is to whoever might be listening to this, and maybe you don't have a low, that's fantastic. Maybe you'll have one somewhere down the road that you don't know, but just know that whatever it is, that you can get through it if you just again, and this is part of that athletic mindset is whatever the adversity is, address it, learn from it what you can, and then move on. Flush it and move on and get on to the next point, get on to the next game, get on to the next thing. So the advice I would give was number one, again, give some grace to yourself. It's okay. No matter what has happened, it's okay. Um, and there's a bright future ahead of you if you want it to be.
Oh, that is thank you, beautiful advice, and I will listen back to that myself as well. And I did tag just one really great piece of advice that stuck out to me from the book outside of the tips is you mentioned in a line about can I read the line directly? It's just one
Yeah,
sentence.
absolutely. 100%.
I was ready to get flying and I was almost paralyzed at the same time. And again, divine intervention, I feel like you just shared that advice, which would bring me back to this line because it can almost be paralyzing if you're in a place and you're not happy with that place, but you want to go because you fear you fear the direction. You fear pressing start. So I just that line really resonated with me, being paralyzed to fly.
Yeah, it's what I find not just with the athletes I work with, but my own life and pretty much everyone I've interacted and have these deeper kind of conversations with. Um, we're filled with fears and we're filled with a million reasons why we can't do something or why it's going to go wrong or and all this stuff. And here's the message for that, I believe. And now there's science to back a lot of this up. About 90% of it is false evidence. It's not real.
Mhm.
It's not real, which is mind-boggling if you'll give yourself, again, the grace and permission to just step back a little bit,
Yep.
and truly evaluate it. It's often not real. Um, and even the stuff that might be real, we tend to, the way our brains are hardwired and our minds, we give a lot more focus and energy to the negative things and to the what could go wrong instead of the good things. And my own belief, we're all versions of God. We're all blessed with this incredible ability to do great things. One of Ed Milet's things that just resonated with me from day one was we're born to do great things. He says it all the time, and that's not exclusive to you or me or Ed Milet. That's everyone. We're born to do great things, and so again, no matter where you are, no matter what's happened, no matter how good it's been or how bad it's been, you're born to do something great. And just start now. Start now. Take the first step and have faith that the rest of the things can unfold in front of you.
And what if it all works out?
Oh, I love that. That's the song. Did you? Oh my God! Now we're really connecting. I did a show on a podcast, and the previous guest to me, Dan Clauser, is the host of the podcast. The previous guest to me was a singer, and her song is "What If It All Goes Right."
Oh, no, I had no
It's some
idea.
it's the most beautiful song. If you just
I'm
Google
gonna write it down.
yeah, I
What if
can't.
it
I've
all goes
got to.
right?
I'm forgetting the name of the musician, the singer, but it's an incredibly empowering song, and it talks about all of the things that could go wrong. But what if it all goes right?
What if it does?
And yeah, there you go. I can't. That's it right there.
Oh, okay, that will lead me into the next ripple effect question. So what and you actually mentioned the ripple effect on the first podcast, which at that
Ah.
time I wasn't even asking this question, but what is a ripple effect that you've seen? It could be something that you've done that has had a ripple effect, something in the community, something with your athletes. What's a ripple effect that resonates with you?
Yeah, the ripple effect I think is, and I don't know if I want to share this exact story, but I'll share the overview of it. Hopefully, this will answer your question.
Mhm.
So, um, something that I learned from studying from others that was passed along to someone very near and dear to me, and that person kind of fighting it at first, but I think eventually coming to their own realization that there might be something in there, and now that very message has been passed on to someone else,
Mhm.
who literally, I mean, it's the definition of the ripple effect, and that person is now living something in their life that 100% would not have happened. And again, not because of me, I'm part of the ripple because I learned it and that person learned it from someone else. So it's just, it's, yeah, I'm now going back to what we started with. It's so empowering to just be a part of that process, to have, this little role, but it's all necessary. You're
It is.
necessary. I'm necessary. Ed Milet's necessary. And I truly believe through your podcast, Michelle, I truly believe not just hundreds, I think millions of people are going to be, and this is the reason why. I've done your podcast 2 times now. Every single person that I'm interacting with is going to be impacted because of you and your podcast. And that's everybody, and this ripple effect is gonna, I think we can change the world, and we can change people, and we can all live more optimal lives, if we keep doing these types of things.
We can if we keep sharing goodness in all of the
Yes.
formats that we have access to. And that is the beauty of how connected we are through technology and our ability to share in a way that we weren't able to previously. I think a lot of times we talk negatively about how much things have evolved, but the beauty of it is that we can be connected and we can share moments, those small moments in a way that feels really big. So, my final question, I ask every guest this: what is one thing that brought you joy today? And then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, this is gonna be a silly one.
It could
Um,
be anything.
no, I'm sitting here staring at my Starbucks cup of coffee, and this is gonna sound silly, but, um I've had a few medical things, nothing of a super serious nature, but I've been having, an occasional these migraine headaches, that whatever, and we've identified caffeine might be one of the things that might be just helping to trigger these things. So I've switched to decaf coffee years ago, but I'm staring at my Starbucks coffee, and I had a really fun day today, a productive day, but it was, again, let's be real, it was a tiring day after my weekend in Lexington. And prior to this podcast, I stopped at Starbucks and ordered a coffee, and I apologize for doing it occasionally here during the podcast, but I've been taking a sip, and when you asked the question, I had the sensation of how that coffee felt in my mouth, and it just made me feel great. So that might be a really simple one, but that brought me joy.
It is, and those are the moments I love that that was your response because that is what I try and promote is that there's always one thing we can find even on the worst day that brings us joy. And it could be a sip of deliciously warm, fragrant coffee. Right? Cheers. I have I'm still sipping on my coffee from earlier today. It could be just that, right?
Yeah, I love the way you just said that, Michelle. Is no, and again, no matter what's going on in your life, if you're looking for it, you can always find something that's joyful.
You can. And this was oh so joyful to me, Jerry. It is a blessing to reconnect with you. I truly believe that God whispered, the universe whispered, and brought us back together in this moment. I really appreciate you sharing your adjusted mindset on peak performance to optimal performance. And I really Listeners, read at an 8, cleared for takeoff. And time to fly to start if you haven't made your way there yet, because this is Jerry's advice and words captured in a place that can be really impactful and meaningful to you. And Jerry, I just want to keep sharing you with as many people as I possibly can. So I'm glad
Oh,
there's a way to do that.
thank you for having me as a guest. I feel honored to be on the first time and to be asked to come back again. I'm truly blessed and grateful, and thank you.
You are my first guest. You were my first guest, and now you're my first returning guest. So you are very special to
Oh,
me, and I appreciate you so much.
thank you, Michelle. It's been a pleasure.
And to everyone listening, find one thing that brings you joy today. Bye.